Hey folks, hope everyone's doing very well. Make sure to take a moment just to read through the disclaimer. As always, this is of course for educational purposes only. As it's been up there for quite some time, I will go ahead and try to get us out to the charts and see what we see. Okay, let's see. As a matter of fact, it might be a decent time to do that. 1 second for me. And let me kind of pause that. Excellent. Okay, give me just 1 second. Did you guys hear the recording start? You just type into the chat for me real quick if you did. If not, I need to make sure that I do that. I think there's a way for me to check it. Give me just 1 second though. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't. Let me try that. You did hear it, the recording, and you're certain of that? Clearly, I'm not, right? Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Tell you what, let me just be safe on my end because I didn't see it. Okay, all right, yeah, no, excellent. I'll keep rocking and rolling then. Thank you so much for that. All right, yeah, let me go ahead and get you out to the charts then. You have plenty of time to read through that. We'll stop that sharing, move it over. Let's see here. Yes. Okay. There we go. All right, so now we're out to the charts, and like I said, we will see what we see. Let me get rid of the other items on my screen up there. Most excellent. Move a few things around, folks. Well, it's a lot, you know. You have like I'm sure some of you all do as well, but so many different things that are going on at once on my screens. I just have to just take the time to move them around, you know. Okay. All right, very good. Yeah, good morning. Yeah, thank you so much for the kind comments coming in. Most appreciated. They really are. So today we are going to cover the analysis, right? We're just going to kind of strictly focus on the zone suite and so on. You know, so we were conversing a little bit yesterday about a couple of specifically one item. So as I said before, we're pretty much you know we're just at a great point right now in regards to the software where we have pretty much everything we feel that we need. There is one thing that was brought to my attention the other day, which is something we've been talking about for quite an extended period of time, and now we are looking further into it to see if you know, if we can enhance the placement of our risk management around the continuation entries. We can look at that a little bit further, especially as we do a release in the you know, as it comes available, and so we'll discuss that further. But today we're going to really just focus in on a bit of the analysis. Let's walk back, as we always do. Let's walk back and do a little bit of a recap on what we discussed yesterday. So if you recall, there was 2 trades. As I said yesterday, they were day trades. Both of them hit the targets and all that good fun stuff. You know, as you know, what I'll do most of the time is just drag the targets way. It's like I think yesterday was 36.60, and I'll just drag it way down there just to, you know, see in the event. But I mean, I just want to repeat, as I always do, it's very difficult, okay, if we're entering 3-minute time frame to expect to get those huge moves like that. So I think yesterday was what, like a 25 to 1 or something. If you guys can correct me if you know, if you hear anything that was different, but I believe it was approximately a 25 to 1. And as I told you at that time, you know, it's day trade, we'll go ahead and hit the target or whatnot, but But as I typically do it, I'll just go for the bigger move. So it's just in my personality. I'm just used to doing that. At any time, we can go ahead and just knock out those targets. But again, it's a personality trait, right? I enjoy going for the bigger moves in the market, but I also have to have the understanding that in the event that I am going to do that, I am certainly going to reach my target far less. So I would say probably the majority of people, probably, I can't speak for anyone, but I would say, again, probably the majority of people would prefer just to, hit their targets. I just think it, especially if you've not been doing this very long, it gives you a good feeling, when you hit your target. So there's that. It's understandable. But the difference is, imagine a 25 to 1. Well, I mean, that's huge, right? And then maybe you get a few wrong, or they're break-evens, or just whatever. But the point with a 25 to 1 would be that you could be wrong, 23 times, literally 23 times, in a row, not accounting for dynamic, risk and so on. But I mean, in general, 25 to 1, you could be wrong 23 times and still be in the green, right? And so it just makes a lot of sense. But as I said, if I'm going to do that on the 3-minute chart, there's a very low probability that I'm going to do that often. Okay. In fact, it would be much less. It would be much less. So what I'm going to do real quick is just try to throw in a little bit of analysis. Now, this is going to be an aggressive one, either or, okay? And the reason I say that, but first and foremost, is because you can see how we are, up into that supply. We talked about this yesterday. Those are the two shorting. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I forgot to recap it. My bad. Let me go back. Here's the trade from yesterday. Okay. So it was to short the market from here, right? So that was the last trade. Well, we had two, remember. We took two shorts right here, all right? So those are the PFAZoneSuite printed those for us. Great. And those were the shorts. But as you can see, so from 37, what was it, 60, let's grab some numbers here real quick. It was 37.63, and as you can see, it dropped all the way down to 36.97, right? So I guess if you do the math there, what did I say? 30. What did I just say? The second entry is 60, I believe, 3/4 down to 97. So you're looking at 63.5 points. That's big. That's big, right? I mean, I think any one of us would be happy to pull out 50 points in a day. So it's not obtainable. It's just you got to be able to stick with it, right? I mean, ultimately. So for all intents and purposes, as I've told you many, many times, we were looking for that 36.60. Still, okay, it's still on the downside. We just haven't made it there. But so that being said, I've told you many, many times that nothing is perfect. And in the event that I get the opposing, so think about the exact way that we went and entered here and here, right? Okay. So so there's our entries. I hope that makes sense and so on. Yeah. But how did I enter this, right? So what's the exact, as covered in the course, this is classic how we go about doing this, yeah? So if you think about that as the defined reversal, think about the exact opposite happening, okay? So if I enter here, I could turn around and close out the position at 37.15, then there you go, right? So I guess that would be, what, 45 points? Okay, so not 50, but 45. Now, just wanted to recap that. Stinker. So I just missed that. That's okay. I was trying to move fast because I figured we might catch that. So there's a little bit of a short setup right there. But let's look at all of this and let's talk about some things. We're just going to miss that one. That's okay. And that's okay because, as I said, it was aggressive. We need to really try to be a little bit more conservative. This is pretty tumultuous times, as you all know. So let's look at this. And as we speak, we have the 37.2450 to 38.20. We're looking up on the larger time frame. So the zone suite has definitively told us that when we get above 30, well, let me say that a different way. equal to or greater than, right? So when we get to 37.24, let's back this up. So when we get to 37.24.50 up to the 38.20 value, then we would expect to see some resistance come in, potential supply, and that, that's when I use terminology like that. Resistance is just, I'm basically saying that it's going to be hard to get through that. Supply meaning that the sellers are indeed going to win the battle. So there, that's how I'm referring to those. Okay, just for clarity purposes. Of course, this is a supply level. Okay, so if I'm referring to the level, I would say, yeah, there's a supply level, right? So as we're coming up to it, we expect the resistance, to be difficult. As price, comes up into the area, the sell orders begin to exceed the buy orders. Of course, supply then exceeds demand, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, but yeah, so basically the ZoneSuite's analysis has very definitively outlined 37.24.50 to 38.20 as being an area that we would expect sellers to reside. Okay, so as we come up to that area the other day, you can see how we touched it almost to the tick. I think we went up in there a few ticks. In fact, I can get you the exact numbers. 1 second. So the high of this was 37.33.75. Okay, so 33.75 will be 9 points, 9.25 point. Okay, so it comes up into the area quite nicely. We can look down to the smaller time frame as we see that as well. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, it did hit our 4-hour level to the tick, which is not to be expected. This makes a lot of sense here. When we talk about hitting things to the tick, yes, the ZoneSuite is absolutely, very accurate in our opinion. However, we are never looking for perfection. Okay, it just doesn't exist. As our belief states, perfection is not an option, right? I know I'm not perfect, and I don't believe that exists in the world that we live in, and I don't know how I would expect that in the financial markets either, because what are they derived from? Humans, human nature, right? We all have our emotional, ways about us, and that's what creates the volatility, etc. So we have this area, but if you notice just below, as we have this substantial rally, we also form a bit of demand down here, right? So as we move forward, that just everything starts to kind of piece itself together. So we have this demand and we have this supply, and what those levels are doing right now is creating a range in the market, because we're not sure. If you think about it this way, we're just not sure that we're ready to go higher yet, right? And we know that because this is the first supply level that we're coming to, and yet for whatever reason it continues to hold us down. Now, conversely, when we go back to the lower levels, right, that's to say down to this 36.04, 35.02 area, it holds us up. So again, a ranging market, and I believe what the markets are attempting to do is just it's trying to be decisive, it just can't, right? So there's not enough decisiveness in the market as we speak for that. Give me just 1 second, folks. I'm gonna close this down. 1 second. Okay, folks, sorry about that. Yeah, so again, we're trying to make a decision, but it's quite difficult, isn't it? Because if you think about it, it only makes sense. In fact, it would make very little sense if we had a lot of clarity right now. Lot of decline, scrunch up the chart. So we've now had about 10 months of severe, call it what you will, but ultimately and overall, we've been in a bear market, shorter term bear market. That's key right there, by the way. Short term bear market. 10 months, folks, that's not long term, okay? Let's be very clear about that. So, whatever you want to consider, my personal terminology, I would consider that to be position style. But my belief is that we are very much still in a long-term bullish trend, but it doesn't feel that way right now. So anyway, that being said, we've had severe downside moves, and they are severe. I mean, it's a little scary. It makes you think about things, and you're like, oh my goodness, is it ever going to come back? Things to all, again, I feel terrible. I really do. I feel awful. But if you've been doing this for a long time, you've maybe been through something like this. We were just talking yesterday. But I will say, I always try to be as transparent, just like be an open book to the best of my ability. This is probably the toughest time of my career. And I've been through a lot, guys and gals, as many of you have. For example, the 08, 09 crash and the financial crisis, if you will. I've been through every one since then. I've seen quite a bit in the markets, and I will tell you that this is probably one of. It's hard to recall exactly. I mean, that was a very long time ago, and I remember it being quite difficult, but it just didn't seem this difficult. And the reason for that, in my opinion, would be the extreme volatility within this one. It's very, very volatile, but it only makes sense. It's not really that much more volatile on a percentage basis when you start to think about it that way. I mean, we look at the Dow was down, over 35%, the S&P over 25%, et cetera. Those are big numbers. But if you think back, we've been down over 50%, So it's not really percentage-wise that crazy. However, again, it doesn't matter because it certainly feels that way. And when you're going down and back up this harshly, right? I mean, this is no joke. Look at, you're going down, and then you just go back up, right? And you're getting these enormous rallies. Look at that one right there specifically, okay, this one right here. These are very painful because they just have no stay power, right? It just, every time we go back up, there's a reason that turns it back down and so on. And but please try to remember that what goes up will go back down, and what goes down is likely to go right back up. And this is the S&P 500, a Dow or the NASDAQ, etc. Okay, so anyway, I just want to throw all of that out there because I don't like it when people are terrified of the market conditions. I do think it's very scary, but I also know. Well, let me say it a different way. I believe, based on my own experience, because I don't know, I'm not a predictor, so I don't know, no. But based on my own experience, I can tell you that the market, okay, is you're talking about something that's designed to just go up, right, over time. And so in the grand scheme of things, this really shouldn't be that bad long term. Okay, so just please keep that in mind. Again, I don't like it when people are terrified. It's just not something that's super ideal. Okay, let's not be afraid of it. Let's watch the chart. Again, focused on the supply, focused on the demand right now. We are inside of a range. Okay, and I am just watching it extremely closely to see what we're about to do. I don't want to dive too deep into everything, but at the same time, I feel the need to show a few things here, such as we were having this conversation. A colleague and myself were having a conversation just yesterday, and I was just trying to show this pattern. So I want to show it to you all as well, and just anything, maybe you all can learn from, even if you need to learn, I don't know, maybe you're just kind of, I'm not being sarcastic, I just mean maybe you're already like a rock star trader or investor or whatever, but that's great. So I do, however, want to bring this to your attention. Maybe it's something you're aware of, maybe it's not. So if we look at the chart as it sits right now, I just want to show you a few patterns that I'm seeing emerge, which tells me, hey, maybe we're not as far from the bottom as some might think. And if we look to the left here, we see that we have this pattern. I'm going to show you a big one, by the way, because I just want you to see how this typically pans out. Yes? So we see kind of a situation right there where we would call this an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So over here you'd have your left shoulder, down here you'd have your head, and then over here you'd have your right shoulder. Okay? Now if you go up here, you'll see something like this. So you kind of go like that, and up there's a left shoulder, there's a head, there's a right shoulder. Okay? So the head and shoulders are probably one of the most common patterns of anything, especially when you're talking about your larger reversals, your actual reversals. Okay? So I want you to now look at a different picture. I want you to look at it like this. Okay? And what we could then potentially see is something to this extent, right? Okay, so think about that. This is a bigger reversal pattern, but it's the same as what was over here. Again, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, same as this, left shoulder, head, potential right shoulder, right? Right shoulder, right? Joke around with myself. Anyway, now what's interesting about this, though, is that there are already patterns emerging within that pattern. So this is very typical, by the way. If you go back to your major reversals in the market, go back all through time, long time, and you'll find this. You'll find double tops, bottoms, and head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders at most of them. So for example, here we've already seen, the left shoulder contains an inverse head and shoulders, right? We have seen that, basically all of these contain some pattern, but that's already happened. So what I'm trying to get you to focus on is now the bottom side of things. All right, so you have this. This is the left shoulder, potentially. Again, I'm not saying that it is, but it certainly is emerging, if you will. Okay, so we have the left shoulder. Now let's look at what's happening right now, because we're already putting in an interesting pattern here. All right, and this pattern is a momentum double. I think it is. Let me measure that real quick before I say it. So let's get an actual evaluation here. So I'm going to pull from left structure up to the right structure. No, okay, so in fact this is a head and shoulders as well. So it did make the 127, that's to say it made a 27% extension of the previous move up. So it would go back down to its in its totality plus, another 27%. So that equates to a head and shoulders, how they would be measured. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. So we have 20% extension. Okay, so we have an inverse head and shoulders in the left shoulder. We're already showing signs of an inverse head and shoulders in the head. Okay. And then if we were to come, so that what that would look like, by the way, is something like this. So we're coming down, we have this, put it here, and then we would want to pull back of 38 to 62%, followed by, ongoing price movement. Okay, so it could then rally up and so on, and so put in a bit of an uptrend here or what have you, go to the upside, and then have a pullback on a larger scale, the same exact thing this is. In other words, it would go up and then pull back 38 to 62%. Okay? So this one right here would pull back 38 to 62% and then, start ascending again. So we have that. I'm just watching it really closely to see. In other words, guys, let's watch this right here, because this is what I want to see. If the 3604, 3502 holds, and we put in a uptrend on the daily chart here, this is going to be the pattern that I will then begin to anticipate. So I'm just looking that far out. We're not even close to that. In fact, we haven't even gotten this yet, right? We haven't fulfilled it, if you will. We definitely have, the potential of it, but we haven't fulfilled it. So I'm watching that, and then if that occurs, then I'm going to watch for this bigger move as well, and so on and so forth. And that's if this area right here can hold. So I will tell you one marker I've always said this. In fact, if you go back, I know many of you have been with me for a very long time, and if you remember, this is so ironic, and it's like I just didn't, it was sheer luck is what happened. I mean, I'll be honest about that, right? So back in 2020, I can't recall, was it like February or March maybe? I was in the room that day, we all was in the room that day, and I said, I'm telling you, something that we want to listen out for. I said, something's going to happen, and the market is likely to spiral, to the downside, because at that time we were just reading, we were already looking at shorts because the chart told us to, and then we started hearing things about the pandemic and so on and so forth, and I said, look, there's just one thing I'm telling you, if something comes out, as a catalyst, and I said, watch Apple, okay, and I said, if they come out with any negative news, I said, it's on, right? And again, sheer luck. There's no way for you to know when a company is going to come out and announce something without insider information. And I assure you, I am not privy to anything like that. That being said, later that same day, sure enough, it was Apple, the exact company. They came out, and I can't remember what they said, but it was to the extent of maybe slowing production, or maybe that, whatever it was, it doesn't matter. It was some negative catalyst, right? And that, boom, I mean, it was on, just like that. That's what started the whole pandemic. Now, I don't mean that was the cause of it. I'm saying that's what threw it into everyone's laps and said, hey, you better get on the ball because this is happening whether you like it or not. Okay, we got that. And that's what I'm going to tell you. I've been saying that. I've always said that. It's just because Apple's the largest percentage, of you got your Apples and your Googles, and those make up a whopping percentage of the index markets. So I will tell you, watch that. As you may or may not know, yesterday I wasn't even paying too much attention, when it happened. But I do know that Apple came out, and I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe they stated that they were reducing production of certain iPhone or something due to lack of sales, okay? Again, correct me if I'm wrong there. I was just halfway here and there. But anyway, I do know they came out with some news like that. So immediately, we started to show some negativity in the market. I am curious now to see if that's going to pan out, right? In other words, is that going to cause another actual downside? Are we going to make a lower low, okay? Or at least revisit the October lows here? And I don't know, but I will tell you that this is a very different picture from what we saw back in 2020. Now, let me explain. Scrunch up your chart. And back in 2020, what we were doing is we got the news from Apple, okay, back in the pandemic, if you will, right? We got the news from Apple somewhere like up in here. To say it differently, guys and gals, it was after a big move up, okay, and that's what started the downside. If you pay attention over here, we've already been declining very, like as I said before, about 10 months. So I don't expect that even Apple reporting, as such, would have that much of an impact on it. Now, it may very well push price lower, but I can't believe that it's going to have the same, repercussions, if you will, as it did before. I just don't think so, because we've already done that. We've been there, done that, right? Look at all these substantial declines. So for Apple or any other company to have such an impact on the markets, now it's just different, okay? So what you're contending with today that you weren't contending with back then is demand based on a very basic principle of buying low, right? Because that's why they're stepping in. You've gotten a 25+% discount on the S&P 500. I mean, that's huge. You know, that's a very big discount. 2020 we had overbought, right? It was the opposite of a discount. It was saying, hey, this is too expensive anyway, and now we've got negative news, and Apple being the catalyst that it was. So I don't expect that. Okay, if we go back, maybe some of you were here last Wednesday. Let's look at why the markets are turning. Okay, so watch this over here. Again, remember what I told you before, it's just an aggressive area. I'm sorry, let me finish this thought process before I go show you the other. What's happening right now is we have supply, and I'm not going to fight against that supply. So I believe that there is strength in this, okay? But in order for me to take a probable scenario, we need to decline further. We need to get closer to this 3604 area below, or, there's a big or, okay? Or I could simply go do this right here, right? And what I could do is just now sit back and do nothing, okay? Now that's already happened once, but what I want is some confirmation here. I want accumulation of demand. And I've gotten it. Obviously, like this right here, this is what it is. Okay, so if you look at what just happened on this 3-minute chart, this is just, you see the price behavior going up and down, up and down. Well, that is an accumulation of order flow, but in this instance, this is a disaster. It's an accumulation of every order. It's like, you know, sellers and then buyers and then sellers. So this is not what we're looking for as far as the longevity of it. However, paint this picture right here, okay? So if we start to accumulate on the buy side, and that would make perfectly good sense as to why we would do that from here. Why? Because we're fighting the sellers, okay? So every time we revisit the sellers, we're going to start a battle. Every time we revisit the buyers, a battle, you know, every time, okay? We're going to fight. Someone's going, or some side is going, buy side or sell side. They're going to win. It gives us further conviction as to the direction of the market. So right now, we dropped below, showing we also had, by the way, some positive divergence down here. So a lot of reasons that the bulls would have stepped into the market. The only question is now, are they going to actually break through this specific level right here? If they do, obviously we're going to run into some further supply, but ultimately that will tell me, yeah, the buyers are indeed pretty strong here, and we want to begin thinking as a bull, not a bear. Okay, temporarily, that is. Just the same as we did back here. Okay, so if you remember, let me turn these back off for a moment. Okay, if you remember back here, we said the exact same thing, right? And we certainly got it. So the zone suite will print all of this for us. We certainly got that, and then just off to the races we went. Specifically, if you recall, so we got that, but then to be very specific, if you want to go back to the recordings and everything, as we stated on that day, if we take out this daily high right here, off to the races we went. And that's because that's where the accumulation was taking place, right? So then we got that pretty decent temporary uptrend, and then we've just retraced back, and it's just a disaster at this point. So I want to pay very close attention to it right now, but I don't want to be buying up into this, because that's where the zone suite has determined that supply has at least and or at minimum previously taken place. So that's a difficult thing, right, because we're talking bigger picture. In order for me to really do much of anything in this market, there's a long way to go. Okay, I drop. I need the markets to drop, and or remember, there's two ways to go about this. This is the beauty in what we do, because price doesn't always drop, and we have to be prepared for that too. So in the event that we see the analysis telling us that there's the potential to go higher, there's really two ways to do that. Number one is to accumulate the buy orders and or demand, if you will, and then we can take part in that, or decline back to where they've already accumulated. Okay, so either way, we're looking for demand, either new demand to form, and we can take part in the departure of said demand, and or just go ahead and come on back, come back and let me buy low again. So buy low, sell high. It's the principle of everything. You can say that in different terminology, right? Like location, 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 but ultimately that's what it comes down to. All right, so that's what, again, that's what we're watching right here. And I am very curious to see if that Apple news is going to have any further impact on the market. So for all intensive purposes, could I take short setups today? Well, I am up into this larger picture supply. Okay, so you can see us rallying up over here. And let's look at the 4-hour time frame. So if I'm going to remember it just always it's defined by what you're looking to do. By you, I mean myself, right? But I want to be a day trader. I want to be a swing trader. I want to be a long-term trader. Personality trait, okay? So we have to define what it is that we want to do. As I prefer swing trading, I will do something like this. Today, I do indeed see that we are, have been, scrunch up the chart. We've been moving down for an extended period of time, and as of yet, and it's very, very important that you hear me loud and clear, as of yet, we have not taken out this 3820. It's a very important number there, but it's very possible that we do. So I've already set in my mind, okay, that's very possible, so I need to set myself up in a way that in the event that does occur, I need to be prepared for it, but I already am. My order's already there, actually, right? So if we break that, then my belief is we will have accumulated enough order flow to get up to that 3850. Okay, so from 37.77 to 38.50, that's not bad. That's not bad. It's what, 80, I guess 73, approximately 73 points or something like that. Okay, so yeah, it's not terrible. Okay, so we'll keep going. Beyond that, if it doesn't, like for all intents and purposes, if it starts to drop today, then I will repeat, I am looking for the 3604. And if we get down there, then I will absolutely start to, I'll start to look for patterns to emerge to execute on the long side. Okay, 3604. All right, 2 ways of setting up on the long side. What about the short side? Well, I'm already up into this supply. I can't predict that it's going to take it out. And I shouldn't, right? I can't speak for you all, but myself, I try not to predict. I try to listen. I know that sounds weird, but as I always call myself a translator, right? By that, I mean I listen to what the market says, and then I translate the information. It's like another language, just like French or Spanish or, name another one, right? It doesn't matter, Portuguese, something. It's like another language that, you or I or whomever, me being the translator that I say, I'm fluent in that language, right? Or at least I think I am. I don't know. So if I can speak the language, then I just translate it, and that's what you hear me do day in and day out. Okay? All right. So another thing that I want to look at is that we have put in a VTC. Now because of that activates this, right? So again, that 3604 on the buy side is already activated. We're not there, not even close to it at this particular time. So it's a ways down too. It's 122 points from, well, I'm sorry, 118 points roughly from here. So it's a long way down. Unless we have some crash effect today, I would not expect to get there. In the event that we did, I wouldn't let it terrify me. In fact, I'd get very excited about that. Okay. So again, let's revert to the sell side. What about sell position? So if I'm going to take a sell position, there's a few things that I need to understand. Number one, scrunch that chart back up. Where am I in the overall grand scheme of things? In other words, what is my altitude? Okay. So my altitude is getting very low. Remember, I just said that the S&P in October was down over 25%, right? That's a big, big, big decline. So I already know that we've shown a lot of weakness in this market, and what I also know about that is that the buyers get very enticed by that. So the further we go down, and specifically the faster we go down, the better off it is. Remember, please, that I am continuously watching that VIX. I have a different opinion on the VIX. Also had this conversation just yesterday. I have a different opinion than in the way that I view the VIX, and I just recently realized this, to be honest with you. The way that I view it versus the way a lot of professionals do, for all intents and purposes. I was listening to CNBC, and they seem to have a very different take on on the VIX, and that's fine. You know, I don't care. I'm certainly not going to change my view on it. It's always held true for me, and that's the way I'm going to continue to do it. So the inability for the VIX to spike as such, and it's maintaining such a, you know, we were at 26 to 28 and forever, it seemed like, and now we're at 30 to 32, and we're just stuck there. So the way that I'm going to perceive that is there just isn't enough fear in the market, no matter what. That's just what it is. So I would like to see a severe decline. I know this sounds bad, folks. Don't take me out of context here, but I would love to see price drop fast, really fast, and pretty far, okay? So I wouldn't even mind it. If it took out this low, I think that would be a good thing. And the reason that I think that is because we are already kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, right? We're getting down there, but we didn't quite make it far enough to put in an absolute bottom pattern, although nothing is perfect, right? So I'll just repeat that. But I would like to see that. And what I would also like to see in combination with that is the VIX spike to 40 or greater. So I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, VIX spike to 40 to 80. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's a huge, yes it is, but the VIX works differently, okay? We're very specific, right, on the S&P and every other market that we trade, but the VIX is a different beast. So when I say 40 to 80, I'm just saying get above, just show me 40 or more. I don't care. But if you look back in the pandemic, which again, I don't think this is going to happen. I really, really, really don't, folks. But if you look back in the pandemic, you'll see that the VIX hit, I think it was like 80 something. The reason that it hit that is because it was going down so fast that it just, you know, set in panic everywhere. So I believe that another leg down would induce, you know, a decent amount of panic in the market. Ergo, I believe we would indeed see that 40 spike. If it went to 80, great, wonderful. That just makes me feel super warm and cozy on the inside, you know. And it would definitely make me feel very confident about, you know, maybe or at least seeking out some demand opportunities below. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know if that's even in the cards right now, so we just have to keep an eye on that. But don't be afraid. If it drops down, remember, I gave a very specific number on the S&P. I said I want it to get down to 3,500 or lower, specifically 3481 quarter or lower, right? As a matter of fact, if you remember last week, we had this conversation on Wednesday. I showed that monthly area, okay? So it was 3481 quarter, but I said in general, just get down to 3,500 or lower. You know, should be pretty good to go. At that point, we were not even close to it. We were doing something like this, you know? So we go down, and then it was brought to my attention, which I'm going to recap real quick before I come back and talk about the sell side. As you may or may not recall, that same day it was brought to my attention about the NASDAQ. So we went to look at the NASDAQ, right? And I said on that day, I said, okie dokie. So the NASDAQ is the one to watch. I said, remember, we were not even close to this. We were way, you know, up here somewhere. And I said, I believe this will act as a bear trap, right? 1056, 10566, 3/4. So this was my level right here. And I said, if we hit that on the NASDAQ, I believe it will indeed turn us back up, in which case it could, you know, turn all of the indices back up, right? So now you're seeing the result of that. But notice what the NASDAQ has done, okay? This is what the ZoneSuite does for us. It makes us aware of where we're likely to turn, okay? It's that simple. It really is. It's that we just want to keep, now, in addition to that, we want to be aware of the direction, the altitude, and the opposing levels, et cetera, right? Just like when we were down here, I said on that day, you know, if we turn back up from 10,566, 3/4, you know, we have a long way to go to get to 11,368. Well, that's what we did. We went straight there, and yet again, the ZoneSuite analysis puts us, you know, on the right side of things. So it says, well, don't be on the sell side down here, if anything be on the buy side. Don't be on the buy side up here, if anything be on the sell side, okay? So again, it's always trying to keep us on the right side of things. Nothing's perfect, but it, you know, it's about as close as I've been able to get. So the NASDAQ's doing its work, right? It's doing exactly what we thought. I just want to remind you all of that. So we go back to the S&P. Let's talk about the sell side real quick, because it very well may come to fruition as we're in the room or whatnot. As I'm in the larger picture supply right here, essentially what I would want to see is, let me open this up real quick. Yeah, oh man, okay. Yeah, I don't think we're not going to get it here in the live room, just because these are 4-hour candles. I could go down to a smaller time frame, like such as the hourly chart, but I'm pretty confident we already got it, unfortunately. So I just don't think we're going to get that today. But basically, to simplify this, what I would be doing is I would have looked for it right here, right? So let's see if we got that on the 60-minute chart. Yeah, that's fine. Indeed we did. Oh my goodness, God. Oh, this hurts your heart right here. Oh my word. Okay, so as you can see here, the ZoneSuite did it again. I figured it would have displayed it. That's okay. We wouldn't have caught it during the room anyway. Let's just be clear about that. This is not something that we would have caught in the room because it happened, it appears in the overnight. But remember what the ZoneSuite can do. It doesn't matter when it happens, because all I have to do, just like I did a moment ago, all I would have had to do is this right here, okay, and then click the submit button. So what that does for me is, in other words, I would have been able to go to sleep and would have never missed this entry up here, okay? So that would have been our short right there. So we would have been short the market, okay? And you know, right now we'd be 37.12 from 37.60, so we'd be up about 40, well, right now about 50 points, okay? Looking much lower, by the way, looking much lower, 36.60, and potentially all the way down on a bigger scale to that 36.04 area. So this has been, I will tell you, one of the most advantageous things, you know, for us, just because of the fact that you know, there's always been the issue of what we miss in the overnight or what we miss in the pre-market, you know, things like that. It's just a pain, but we don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay, we don't have to worry about that anymore. It's quite nice. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to go back up to the 4-hour time frame though. That's what I'm going to keep consistent with. As we've been using that for the very small time frame trading. So let's go back up. So we know that what's happened thus far, and yet again, has been that the ZoneSuite has printed the levels. It's, you know, a beautiful thing. They've been turning at the levels as anticipated. And of course, we got the same, or we would have, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. So this is a complete, I actually don't even want to talk about that anymore, because that's complete hindsight behavior. And as you know, we never, that's just not something that we are interested in discussing further. Again, because hindsight does no good. You can learn from it for training purposes, as far as, hey, you know, this is how the methodology works and so on and so forth. But when you're doing analysis, it's a joke. You should never be looking at hindsight information, because what are you going to do about that? Nothing. I mean, the answer is nothing. Can't do anything. So anyway, all right, great. So that would have occurred. Remember our paired time frames, daily and 60. So if I wanted to look, however, at something that maybe has not happened yet, I need to get all of the information. So the daily is turning down. We haven't really reached this lower area, so that means that I could potentially, you know, trend, if you will, on the smaller time frames to get to that area, right? Because ultimately what we do in the markets is we bounce from supply to demand and demand to supply in the ongoing equation, okay? Sometimes we're moving sideways, sometimes we're moving diagonally, either up or down. What that defines is simply a range or a moving range. Moving range meaning a trend. And that's all it is, though. It's literally just a range that's fluctuating, same as a sideways, but if you just twist it a little bit and make it go diagonal, that's the only difference. Okay, so we have that, and that's what we would expect over here. So what I'm watching right now is this particular time frame, because if I want to go over here, I need to be acutely aware of what this time frame is doing, because that becomes a much larger time frame. Think about it this way: if what's happening inside of this one candle, okay, look at it over here. Look at all the noise. Look at all that information. That literally has occurred inside of this one candle. That's amazing, right? But that's how it is, because we want to look at the larger picture to give us an idea of, hey, this is likely where you're going. Okay. And then over here, this is just the piece to the puzzle that gets us there. So we're going to see trends and trends and trends over here. We're going to see candles, maybe some just up and down candles over here. So if I'm looking at this chart here, what I want to see is I want to see this low get taken out. So this is yesterday's low, by the way. I can't remember the exact price value, and that also drives me crazy when I can't get my line straight. There we go. So the approximate number here is 36.9675. What I would want to see is us get back below that. You can see there is some hidden demand over here, which is what turned us up yesterday, but I can't be concerned about all that. Stop overthinking it. Right? That's me talking to myself. Well, don't do it. Don't overthink it. So I want to see us take out this previous low here, right? If we do, I'm going to look at where the ZoneSuite has printed previous demand. That comes in at 36.34, right? So in order to get on board of that, I actually need to go over here, don't I? Okay. So I need to look for the same thing we looked for yesterday. And if you remember, as I pointed out, here are the trades that were executed in the room just yesterday, right? They came in right back here. So we need to do the same thing today. But the difference is when we were in the room yesterday, okay, it's a very important difference, by the way, we were going up. Very, very, very critical difference. We were going up. Over here today, which way are we going? Well, we've been going down, you see. So when we're going down, we're going to find support and potential demand. When we're going up, we're going to find supply or find some resistance and potential supply. So in order for me to short this market, let me simplify this. In order for me to short this market, I need to see a rally, okay? I need to see a rally, not a decline, because a decline only tells me that I missed the move. It doesn't tell me that I have the opportunity to get on board the next one. So that's what I have to now be very patient and methodical about. I have to control my emotions, which is very challenging. Again, I try to be an open book. Let me share some information with you, not because I have to, I don't, but I want to, because I feel that you're, as my team, there's no I in team, right? We all do this together, and I think it's important that we all share our good with the bad, or bad with the good, or however you want to look at that. So, this has been going on for me, and I'll just share a little bit. I've been doing this for a very long time. I told you this before. We've been going through. I've seen some pretty severe, market behavior, right? But as I stated earlier in the room, this is probably one of the hardest times I've ever, been through. The 08 was very difficult. But this is just different. It has its own thing because we've rallied up so far on the S&P. We hit like 4,800. I mean, the numbers, to watch the green and red numbers within this volatility is excruciating from time to time. And I like to think that I am very, very in control of myself, and that's the only way I've made it this far. That being said, even and not to put myself on some pedestal, I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying I even have the urge, like yesterday I was sharing with a colleague, I had an urge to go place not a scalp, but almost a scalp trade, right? It was a very short, it's like I'll call it a day trade, if you will. So it's a very short-term day trade. And even I have the urge to do that. So then I go out, I'm looking at it. And the reason that I have the urge is because I teach you all on these smaller time frames just so that I can get the information to you faster. That's it. I don't want to trade. It's too emotional. It's too stressful. And quite frankly, maybe it's just me, but I'm not. Well, let's just say that I can do as well or better on the bigger time frames and less work, less stress, etc. So it's only logical to me to do that. Well, given the lack of things to do, because I've been, goodness gracious, we've been doing this since January, and we've been just pretty much kind of babysitting and working around, trading around positions and so on and so forth. Well, nearly a year of that, folks, that's tough for anyone. I always tell people be patient. Day trading is very difficult, and it's not the ideal in my opinion, but what have you. Well, we're talking about nearly a year, okay, and how volatile it is. It's challenging on all of us. So again, yesterday I had an urge to place that trade. So I go out and I mean, the trade would have worked out great. You know, my analysis was spot on, but I go out and I'm ready to place the trade, right? So I have my order labels there, and you know, I'm doing something kind of like this. It was actually a buy position, just to be clear about it. It was right down here. Anyway, so you know, I kind of went in. Sorry, I'm doing the wrong thing. And I go, you know, down here, and I put my my order labels, and I adjust them, and I get ready, and I go like this, and then I look at my button. It says submit orders, and in that moment, all I could think of is, what are you doing? What are you doing, Will? And I think about everything that I've always known and everything that I have taught and so on and so forth, and I had to correct myself in that moment. But I did, and I told myself, what are you doing, Will? Stop. And I just stopped, and I said, nope. I took my hand off the button, and that was it, right? So I'm telling you this only because sometimes people have the misconception that mistakes aren't made, okay? But I don't know anyone that doesn't make mistakes. The difference is trying to control them. My ability yesterday to stop myself from pushing that button, that's what I'm talking about, okay? So we all need to kind of practice that ability, and if we don't have it, we are going to be in big trouble. So we need, at that point, in my opinion, I think we need to step away from trading completely, which is what I did yesterday. I just said no. I stepped away because I knew once I had that urge to submit that order that did not follow suit with my plan, right then and there I knew, hold up, you better step away, because if you are having this urge, it means you're not in complete control of your emotions right now. And I said, oh, I got it. I got you. Which then put me back in control of my emotions, didn't it? Right? So that's what I would encourage people to do, is just step away for a little bit, okay? I think it'll do you a lot of good. It's easy to clear your mind when you're not staring at this stuff. It's very, very difficult when we are right here in front of it. So just step away. I mean, it works for me. Hopefully it would work for you. All right, so on the sell side of the market, as we said, it already happened. But if I want to go down, I'm sorry about all these notifications. Let me hush this thing up. It's goodness gracious. There we go. Okay, so now if I wanted to approach this over here, though, right, like a scalp trade or a very short-term day trade, something to that extent, I would ask myself, number one, what am I looking for? Buy, sell, both, nothing, or neither, if you will. Okay. So I have already discussed the fact that we're up into this supply, and the further fact that we're nowhere close to this lower demand. So that tells me, okay, I gotcha. So there's a good chance that we would at least attempt that. Doesn't mean that we're going to get down there, but we would likely at least attempt to get down there. And right now, as we speak, we're actually really close to the top of the range, nowhere near the bottom of it. So for that purpose and that purpose alone, I say, okay, now I need to see it on what I would consider to be my larger time frame. This over here, as you know, covered in the course, we call it RTF. This one, LTF. So I need to see my LTF take out this low, because that's going to be the first sign that, yes, the sellers are taking over a previous area where the buyers won. Okay, by that it's already have the line. By that I mean yesterday we couldn't get below this area. So today, if we do, that means the sellers are stronger today than they were yesterday, and the buyers are weaker. At said time, then I'll go over here. Okay, that's when I go over here and I say, okay, now show me a rally, which is what some would think would be counterproductive, right? But remember what I said. So in order for me to even remotely have the opportunity to get on board the next move, I need to catch it from the beginning. If I enter here, okay, with the exception of the extreme, we have them, crashes, or there's always those things, but if you can predict that, good for you. I cannot. We can have a pretty good idea of where markets are going to turn, and things like that, but we can't predict, a crash or some, super abrupt move. It just, I don't know. Maybe I'm not as fluent at that part of the language, I guess. I kid, right? All right. So what I'm saying though is, if we drop, let's say I hit the sell button right now. What needs to be understood is that I've already declined inside of even this intraday trend. Look at what the trend is doing. Let's try to understand the behavior of the trend. Okay? So here's a very basic trend that's already been put in. Now, if we continue that very basic trend, do you see how close I am to the end of where it would generally turn back up? So I don't want to be entering inside of the trend. I want to enter at its extremities. So for all intents purposes, to capture something like this on the downside is optimal, not when it's already on the downside. So what I would like to see today is a lower low, a rally, and then I'll catch the, I could just hit my button, right? I could just hit my button. That being said, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop when we get close to this, because remember, this is a very short-term day trade, scalp trade, if you want to call it that. So I need to go over here to my larger time frame and ask myself, what is in front of me that's going to stop me? What's going to give me a problem? There's a problem somewhere. There's always a problem, right? Where is my problem today? Well, my problem comes in at 36.34 quarter. That's problematic. Okay, all right. So if I see a problem below, I'm not wanting to be confrontational, right? I don't want that. So if I don't want to be confrontational, then just stay out of the way, right? So then I say, okay, well, give me this. And again, it's not an argument. I don't need to argue. I don't want to be confrontational, so on and so forth. So, put me anywhere close to this. This is not a perfect science, folks. I can pick a number. If I mean, people ask me all the time, about perfection and exact ticks and exact, price values and so on and so forth. Look, at the end of the day, if I pick 36.56 or if I pick 36.52, it is what it is. It's fine. So I personally try not to overthink that. I do, however, try to get as close, I'm not going to be on the level, right? So I, at minimum, would want to be at 36.40 or high. There you go. So 36.40 or higher. That's where I would want to be with my final destination on anything that occurs over here on the downside. All right. So there it is. Now on the upside, it's a long way to go. It's a pretty long way to go. Remember, we talked about this yesterday about price should turn back down from this little area right here. Well, that's only because if you remember going back the week before that, actually 2 weeks, I think, this level back here. So when we were down here, we said, I'll show it to you, sorry. Okay, remember we had this level right here. Now, given that it's historical, I can't recalculate it and draw it. But ultimately, we had this level, and we said, okay, stops will be above this structure because these two levels, they should fail. It's too low. They're too close to the lows. Those should fail. But this one, this is the one that we want to see if it can get back above. Okay? And again, stops above the structure there. Well, going into the future, that, sure enough, that happened. But look at where we are. Extend this over. And this is what we were trying to show just yesterday, right? So let's, matter of fact, let's do something like this. I'll make it very clear for you. I'm just going to erase all of these. Let me get rid of this. Okay. I'm going to erase all these because this right here is the level. This is not, it's not a level. This is the level. It's the one that's been holding us down and so on. In fact, let me just do it. Let me just do it like this. I'm just going to draw that for you because I can't redraw that one, like I said. So it was approximately here. Yesterday, as we were arriving here, this is the exact reason we said, hold on. And this is the, to go further, it's the reason we took those two shorts, remember? Okay? So this is the level. This is a critical level that around that 3,800, very powerful. and it's the reason that we turned down. Now watch this, because I am seeing something emerge on the 4-hour time frame. Just want to bring this to attention. Remember earlier I said over here on my larger time frame, you know, we're up into this and we drop. We saw it on the 60-minute, but we had not seen it here yet. Okay, so for all intensive purposes, I'm going to go here right now and I'm going to submit this. Okay, because if we drop from here, I can see a pretty grave distance, as I just previously stated, all the way to the 3640. Now, I could get a pullback over here, but here's what will happen. Most likely, I'm trying to think of all of these points that I can try to make simultaneously. Go back to my earlier comment of you'll see a bunch of price movement. I think I said up and down trends over here inside of the bars over here, right? Okay, so let's map something out real quick and think about this going forward. In the event that this candle pulls up like that, right? I mean, it's already going up, obviously. It could go all the way up, but in the event it doesn't, let's just watch for this. So this could produce a bit of a continuation pattern, and then it could break back down. If it does that, we are accumulating more of sellers than we are buyers, in which case I would anticipate that we could go a good bit lower. Okay, that's a big if statement, isn't it? Okay, so two things that I would point out. Number one is I can just prep it and play it on this time frame because I'm playing with the larger picture. Number two, what if I didn't want to play it on the 4-hour chart and I wanted to be very, you know, acute, if you will, with my entry and risk tolerance? So then I could go over here, but aren't you going to get the exact same thing? Remember what I said earlier? Over here, I would want to see a pullback up and then go lower. So imagine that. What would that look like? If we over here on the very small time frame, we went up like so, and then we went down again, what do you think you're going to see over here? You're going to see an intra-bar, intra-candle, and it's just going to turn red, right? So, or it may be, you know, you may see another bar. It may take more than, I think this one has nearly, that's a long time. That you can see down here my time remaining on this particular bar says nearly 4 hours, 3 hours and 51 minutes and 42 seconds to be exact. But that being said, right here you're literally looking at the exact same analysis on two different time frames. Okay, so that's what I want to see, and I want to be able to map those things out. I want to predetermine you know, that picture, and also my willingness to engage. Okay, so again, I can play it here because of this, or I can play it here because of this. All right, so I'm just going from right to left. Right to meaning I'm starting on the right chart and I'm going to the left chart, and or I'm going from the right chart up to this left chart. But either way, it's the same thing. I'm going from a smaller to a larger. Okay, all right. Let me get rid of these. Hold on a minute, because I think I have a few questions coming about. So I do really want to watch this, ladies and gents. Just to be very clear, you see this as yesterday's low, right? I mean, I can't even tell you how important this is. We may never get back below this low, in which case it is what it is, okay? Am I prepared for that? Yeah, that was one of the first things I talked about, right? Remember over here, I already have the order submitted. So, of course I'm prepared for it. Let me turn these back on, by the way. Oh, oops, sorry. Woo, good thing I had the wrong one there. There we go. Okay, so you can turn those like on or off. Yeah, at any time. It'll just reset. Wait, did I do an RBR? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's done. And then on the sell side, I'm also prepared for that as well. So I can really do, you know, kind of all of the above based on the information that the PFAZoneSuite and further analysis is providing. Let me go back and answer these questions real quick. Hold on. Okay. Market seems random. Turns anywhere. Supply and demand exceeded. Not from these levels. Not at all, man. Not even. No, not at all. It's not random, like, at all. In fact, I mean, it is very consistent. I've seen. I mean, this is amazing. The way that the markets are holding up and the way that they're functioning inside of that volatility. I would say the opposite. I would say that it is magnificent in the way that it is performing. Yeah, I mean, it's turning at the levels left and right. So just watch. Like, for example, let's watch today, and you're going to see this in real time. I love to do that because that way you can't, you know, I'm not here to trick people. This is ridiculous. You know, you don't take my word for it. I never ask people to. In fact, I tell you the opposite. Don't just do that. Don't trust me. Eventually, I think you will. If you don't, then please let me know why, because there would be a problem that I could never imagine why. But so anyway, seeing is believing, right? Just watch. That's all I ask. And well, I do ask that you be open-minded. Especially a long time ago, I had people who would come in and they have true story. They would be, you know, not doing good at all. They would be that was their first conversation. I'm doing terrible. I'm da-da-da-da-da. And then lo and behold, they would come in and think they knew everything. And no, that's not right. It has to be this way. And I'm like, for the life of me, I can't conceptualize why you're doing this, because you're the one that said that you're failing time and time again, but yet you're not willing to let go of that. And that's just a psychological barrier. I understand it more now, you know, because we all, you know, humility is a good thing. And you know, I don't know whether it's age or what, but we all figure it out from time to time, right? So it makes sense. But I would always ask people to be open-minded. That's very important and really critical for what we do. You have to be open-minded and then just watch. You'll see it. I'm telling you. You'll see it. It's irrefutable. I can assure you of that. But again, just keep your eyes peeled. Okay. All right. So it would. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, that it could seem that way. But no. Please. Again, just watch, right? Because you may think that it's random. No, and I don't think. No worries, man. No worries at all. I don't think you're being disrespectful at all. No, you're just stating an opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. What I would tell you though is, what have we said? You know. So let's don't say, you just throw these things out there. I want to ask you, what have we talked about in advance? That's what I want to ask you, right? And when you think about that, and when I point it back out to you, you'll be like, oh, yep, no, it's not random at all. It happened exactly as we said it would. Not because we predicted it, but just because that is the language that we're translating, and it just made sense, right? So let's look at this. Excuse me. Let's look at this rally up here, this big rally. Do you remember how many times I said no? 3,500. Remember that? I mean, I know you do. It's kind of rhetorical, I suppose. But remember, I kept saying that. I was like, 3,500 or lower, you know, specifically 3,481, but we're already in that area. So let me go up and remind you. I'll show you. So we're going to go up to the monthly chart. And this whole time, we're getting these rallies, right? This whole time. But I kept saying, no, there's only 3 areas that this is likely to turn. Here, which, look at what happened, a monthly rally, actually took 3 months to break it. Here, same thing, monthly rally, took 3 months to break it. And here, and I said this is when we were trading way up here, by the way, or on that first descent. And I said, this is the real one we want to watch right here. So again, specifically 3,481, but then I went on and I drew it like this, just like I always do. This is exactly what we always do. There's nothing new here. So I drew it to its entirety, and I said, you know, as we get down to this area, you know, that's where I'd expect price to find demand, excuse me, and maybe turn back up, right? So it made sense as it starts to turn back up, but so I still wanted price to come down into the 3,500 specifically. I would still love to see it get into the 3,481 quarter. I'll just reload that real quick to show you the calculation of the software. Okay, so we've still not gotten down there, but go back to last week. Number one, we did get down into the entirety of the area. I can't control when premature things happen or what we believe to be premature, but this, in my opinion, we have an exact reason for it. What did I say last week? I said if the NASDAQ hits 10,566.75, it will likely be the one to turn the other indices back up, right? So everything that we've said is always in advance. So now when we look back and we think of this as being random, it's anything but random. It's exactly what we said. The NASDAQ hit the bear trap, right? So let's go back. Because remember, this was a substantial level. In fact, I called it that. I said, yeah, this is a substantial level. Look just below it. So what often happens is when they see these, they'll literally sweep the stops into a demand level just below it. And that's exactly what happened over here. By doing that, the NASDAQ indeed turned up the S&P as well as the Dow. Okay? So I would say just kind of think about it and try. I know it's a lot to intake, a lot of information. I know it is. But there's nothing random about this. And the beauty in it is that we really don't miss much of it. You know, so here we don't have to be perfect. Let's say that it doesn't hit 34.81 quarter. Well, does that mean that I don't have setups? No, we already do. Remember, I had a setup on the daily. I have a setup on the 4 hour, and I have a set. By the way, see, there you go. And I have a setup all the way down to the 3-minute chart. So we still have them. There's no need for perfection, but we want to get as close as possible, for sure. You know, we don't want it to be in the middle of nowhere. But wouldn't you agree that we are absolutely inside of this level? So then when I go over here, all I need to do is look for that on the upside. Okay, just like that. So go from the monthly, ironically, I should say, to the daily chart, right? So remember our paired time frames, monthly, daily, weekly, 4 hour, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so what I would want to do is go from here, because yes, we're into the area. We didn't reach Will's perfect, price point or whatever. Most often we do, but we also further know that we are in the entirety of this area. So it gives me, look, it's saying to me, Will, you can take a chance at this. It's a little bit more aggressive, but you're risking something either way. Either you do it now and you give it a shot. Now you're risking whatever the risk tolerance is there. Of course, I'm going to risk that, but that's on every trade. So my real risk comes into missing the entire move back up. So I think to myself, by the way, again, watch the ZoneSuite. You'll see, okay? I just want you to sit there and watch it in real time. It should be on your charts. If it's not, I can't do anything about that. You have to make that decision. I tell you, I couldn't do it without it these days, though. Okay? So my risk, do I want, or am I willing, rather, to take a shot at this, knowing that it is possible that it goes all the way back up? So do I want to miss that? No, because it's already in the entirety of the area. But how do I do that? So I don't just randomly go throw an order at it. Instead, what I do is I confirm it, right? How do I confirm it? I only have 2 ways of doing that. VTCL, retracement into demand. Number 2, RBR at the RVM. Just like that. So as I said before, I am very prepared on every move this market makes, because the ZoneSuite tells me what all I need to know, right? Really the only thing, if you think about it, pretty much the only thing that I'm doing, even remotely manual, is the direction. And even with that, it's automated. It's right here. For example, your trend line, right? So I could turn those on and show the historicals and everything like that. For example, let me show both actually. Oh, I don't have enough. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have my performance mode on, so my tools are disabled. I was wondering where are they at, but that's okay. Let me turn them off for a second. So if you want to use that, by the way, here's all I would need to do. I would need to go in my indicators and just disable the performance mode, right? If I do that, then all my tools become accessible again. We talked about that the other day. But yeah, so no, I'm prepared on every side of the market just because of what it's doing. And if I need to go out and draw a trend line, I mean, okay. It's not the end of the world as I know it, I'm willing to do that. Anyway, I hope that helps, though. I certainly hope that helps. But if it doesn't, that's okay. I'll keep on keeping on until it does. And please keep bringing the questions as if you're confused about something, just bring them to my attention. As always, we'll definitely cover them. Just notice the NASDAQ did not create a VTCL. Are you talking about on the larger time frame? Yeah, you're correct, Tamundo. It did not, right? So if I were going to be shorting the NASDAQ, I would have wanted to do it up here around 11,368. And that's all the way over here. Now watch what's going to happen over here. Watch. So watch you'll see what I mean. Just watch. Okay, so we came up into this supply area and dropped all the way back down to here. Now watch. 37.35 half, and you'll see what happens. Okay, just keep a close eye on it. So what the situation here is, what do I want to be? A buyer or a seller? Because am I going over here and saying I want to sell this supply level? No, that's never what I said. I just want you to watch how impactful the levels are. Even if that's not what I'm looking for, they're still astonishing. To watch this stuff is unbelievable. What I told you was that I wanted a rally up over here, which would be a candle pretty much here. And then over here, if it starts to turn back down, all I need to do is hit my button, right? And just be patient and wait. That's the market telling me what to do, not me telling it or anything else. All right, let me continue on. I like how I like how you're describing the potential long entries a few minutes ago and how the VTCL validates the 3604 demand zone. That makes sense to me. Could you please elaborate and explain again the other potential RBR entry and where your target would be? Is it because it is potentially accumulating and negating the current supply area we are in, and the target would be the next supply zone? Okay. What time frame was that? So I got the 3604 on the S&P. Let me go back down to the daily because that's where we were. That's where the 3604 it was what you're referring to. So that makes sense to me. Can you please elaborate again the other potential? Okay, by other potential RBR, are you referring to when I talked about the RBR here on the daily time frame? Excellent. Yeah. So the remainder of your question was, can you elaborate on that RBR and where your target would be? Is it because it was potentially accumulating? That's exactly what it is. So think about this. Right now, by the way, do you see what happened over here? This is not rocket science, folks. It's just that's where supply is, and the zone suite predetermines it for us. I would not sell this unless I wanted to be a seller in the market, right? Okay, but right now we've already rallied up multiple times. If anything, this thing appears to want to go higher, but I'm not trying to predict either way. This goes into your question, Brian. Yes, what is currently happening is the market is ranging up and down. Remember, I told you it might not even get back below yesterday's low. Look at what's happened. So we're ranging inside of that area as we speak, right? Okay. So inside of all that, what's happening is a battle is taking place. This is why I don't want to jump into this, because a battle is a confrontation. It's just like, man, let them figure it out. If they want to fight about it, let them fight. I don't care. It's their business. Okay. So let them do it. Let them figure it all out. The point that I'm making to you is that is in and of itself accumulation. So when they break it, who wins the battle is the side I want to be on. So this supply level, remember, scrunch up the chart. Where is this supply level? It's way down here. Okay. So for me to execute a short position down here, it would still, no matter what, it would be short term. We're way too low to be taking large positions on the downside of the market. If you were going to do that, you missed the boat. I mean, this was up here we should have been shorting, right? When we were talking about that long ago. So I just want to bring that to your attention. The location here for the sellers, it's not good. That being said, I don't care, because for whatever reason, they won the battle here one time. Who's to say they're not going to win it again? The difference is if they win the battle, the depth and or the distance that they will be able to go. That's the difference. So I'm not saying, so I'm good. I'll still take a short trade here, but it will be short term. If you recall, I said the exact opposite up here, right? Remember, these were where we were shorting the market, and I was just in it to win it. Hold it. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Down here, very different picture. No, 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 no. Short, okay, but I'm out. You know, I'm out quick, right? So that's a huge difference. Remember, location, location, location. Okay, go over here. As I said, watch this in real time. Okay, it's amazing what happens at these levels. It'll go to them. You'll find, and these are supply levels. So look at what's happening, right? It goes up. It does indeed find the supply, just as the ZoneSuite has predetermined, and then we will decline. The question is, how far are we going to decline away from it? So, you know, you never know, but that's why I only want to be shorting if I'm with the bigger picture. If I'm definitely with the bigger picture. Remember what we didn't do over here? What did we not do? We did not take out this low, so I'm still in a state of confusion. Today's not a very good day, is it? But what it is a great day, because it's a contradiction. I'm joking, but it's telling me, stop. Here you go again. Just stop. Remember the video that I did? It was Bill, or what's his name? Eckhart, or the comedian. Anyway, remember that video I sent out just saying stop it? Newart, yeah, Bob Newart. That's a just stop it. That's where we are, and I'm telling you, this is why the problems occur, because we see this and all we can think about is what we want to do. We want to place a trade because all these big moves are happening and we should be part of them. No, we shouldn't. If we were capable of that, folks, none of us would be here. We would be making Warren Buffett look bad, but that's not possible, is it? Right? No, it's not possible to we will never be able to do that. And if you can, you know, you're just a magician. All right, so anyway, yeah, stop it. That was what it was, yeah. Let me go back. So good thought process on that. Yeah, right now what's happening is the buyers are just, they're attempting, you know, and they're accumulating, but the question remains, is there enough of them? So just, I'm sitting back to do nothing, and I'm going to let this battle right here, I'm going to let it figure itself out. Once it's figured itself out, okay, I got you. Now I'm ready to go, right? So for all intents and purposes, this could negate the 38.20, and as I said before, in the event that that occurs, I would expect to see 38.50. Okay. All right, all right, all right. I was thinking it should prove itself, break out a supply pullback, and then enter into new form demand created. Okay, but you're talking about something totally different. Remember, Brian, there's two ways to look at this, okay? Two ways. Number one, you're talking about retesting supply and demand levels, okay? That is a great way of doing it. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you know, of course, we do that all the time. By the way, do you see what's happened yet again? We hit this level, declined. Let me just cancel that. Turn these off for you. Okay. Do you see what's happened here? We hit this level and we declined out of it, about a 1-to-1. We go revisit the next level and we're dropping again. Okay. I mean, it's unreal, but yet it is what it is. So just keep watching. You'll see it. Would you have taken a short around 37.75 if the buyers can't move the market higher than that? 77 quarter. We did take shorts there, Jeff. Yeah. If you go back and review yesterday's recording, you'll see that we took two shorts there. I'm not saying at 37.77 quarter exactly or whatever, but remember I was just showing earlier. Where was it? Over here. Yeah, so right up in yeah, well, it was. I think the first one came in at 37.72, and then the other one was like at 37.60 something. Yeah. You'll see those yesterday. Yeah, we took them both in the live room. Yeah. Absolutely, sir. So good thought process you have there. Okay. So just watch, like I said, again, you see what's happening, it hits the next level, and there's the decline out of it. Time and time again, folks. Would you take another one? No, I wouldn't take another one. No, because the high's already been made. I would just be a little bit more patient. Yeah, a bit more patient on that. Let me tell you somewhat of a different scenario, right? So if price doesn't, or let me say it a different way, if price wasn't accumulating right here, if we don't form an RBR, in other words, and we make a higher high up to, let's say, that 3,800, then you're higher up into the level, okay? So for all intents and purposes, I could then go take a new short, but hear me closely, it would be very short term, okay? So the bigger picture, I would want to be the buyer. I would only scalp that, okay? And that, let me draw that picture for you. So if I rallied up today and today only, if I go up, say 3,800, and then on my 3-minute time frame, you know, I produce a DVD at the RVM, then sure, you know, I could take it, but the probability in it going like this is very slight. That's why I say I wouldn't expect that. I would only maybe expect it to come back and test the highs that it just broke out of and then go up, right? So if I were going to short the market there, I'd want to do it, I would want to get out of that really fast. Does that make sense? Very cool. All right, folks. So yeah, again, just watch. You know, watch this right here. Seeing is believing. You'll just see it over time. Could I go up here and trade these supply levels? I could. You know, I could, but I'm not going to, nor will I. Okay. Why will you not do that, Will? Because where do you see information telling me to do that? I don't see it. If anything, you have the opposite. So right here we have a VTCL. Okay. So that's saying, hey, pause. Let's see if it's going to accumulate the buyers and then go for it. In other words, confirm my long entry. Uh-oh. Sorry, I just hit a crazy button there. In other words, confirm that, else we're just going to go lower. Okay, cool. So I'm ready for the buy side. I will execute on the buy side, but I need the entry first. Okay, cool. So I'm just methodically waiting for that. Maybe I don't get it. Okay, I don't get that. And then it starts to turn back down. Got it. So now I go over here. I'm already prepared for that too. Does that make sense? Like I'm prepared right now. If you think about it that way, I'm prepared for all sides of the market. Wherever it goes from here, it's going to be some side of the market winning a substantial battle. And when that happens, it's go time. That's what it is. And the Zone Suite's doing this all for me, right? Okay. Is your 3-minute chart set to aggressive or less? No, it's advanced, I believe. They're all the same. I'll go in there and show you real quick. Okay. So you can see here, it's just set to advanced. Yeah, very cool. Okay. All right. Does anyone have any other questions, or is there another market or anything you'd like to look at? You're very welcome. Absolutely. Thank you guys, by the way. Really appreciate that. I'm going to ask myself a question. Will, what would you like to see happen today? There's a question. I would like to see the markets break down. I would like to see it break down below this 3,700 and give me that move back down to at minimum the 3734 quarter, or lower. Could go much lower. As I said before, if you look up to the bigger picture, 3604. But I'm not talking about, remember, I'm not talking about long-term trades. That's just not what I'm doing down here. I can't, because we've already dropped a substantial amount. So for me to look for long-term shorts down here is just, it would be silly on my behalf. That being said, I would indeed like to see, I just don't know, it's not very probable, I guess is what I'm trying to say, There is a lot of brute strength that came into this market over the past, few days. So I have to bear that in mind, but I don't care. I mean, to say it as brutally honest as I can, I don't care, because I am not going to execute in accordance with that anyway. Just because I see brute strength come into the market, yes, it will give me an emotion, maybe get me a little excited or something like that, but then I stop myself. That's where I go into control mode. And I say, Will, man, what have you learned over all the well over, well, not quite 2 decades, right, but pretty close. What have you learned in that time that when price goes up, it's going to go find supply, right? And it'll turn back down. When price is going down, it'll find demand and turn back up. I've learned that so many times, and I can't tell you folks, it's been the hard way many times, it's a very hard way. I'm done learning the hard way. I was done with that long ago, right? I stopped running my head up against a brick wall. So just because this brute strength has come in the past, couple days or whatnot, let me give you, here's a case in point. Case in point. Go back. What happened right there? Okay? Price came in very strong. I mean, that day was like, bam, it shot way up. What happened the next day? I mean, that kind of proves everything, what I'm trying to tell you. But, so yeah, I'm not going to get involved in that. I'm going to wait for those entry signals and let the market just come to me. It's just how it's going to be. It's how it always will be, for future reference. So today, if I were to get a breakdown, the reason I would like to see that is because it would give me, an opportunity down below, right? So I would like to see it drop down pretty substantial. It's going to bring in, it's going to, influence the panic, okay? Remember what I told you before, I want to see the panic in the market. I know that sounds bad, but I should say it in different terminology. I don't want people panicking. I just want to see what we would quotate as panic in the market. That because I believe we will then get a reversal, okay? So that's why I'm saying that. But whether we put that in or not, it just remains to be seen. Okay, so I would like to see it. I'd like to see us break down today. In the event that we do, I could take that. I could go down with it short term. I'm going to emphasize that, short term. In the event that happens, that's great, and then I will turn around and stop and halt everything. So for short-term purposes, because I'm trading short-term, if I were to sell the market, I would look at this level right here, 36.34. Okay, and then if we go lower, if we do have, because remember 36.04 is inside of this level, by the way. Okay, just to make sure everyone's aware of that. But if we were to go lower, great. Again, I'm just getting a better, it's just going lower for me. In other words, a bigger discount. In which case, I will rinse and repeat, and I'll look for my 4BR, my 4-hour RBR at the RVM. Okay. All right. What do you use for PFA to send text message or alerts? I tried Gmail and cannot get it to work. Yeah, I had this question the other day. So I don't use that Gmail, because I agree. The reason that Gmail it used to work, but the reason it doesn't anymore is because they do. They use, what do they call it? It's non-secure apps, maybe, something like that. It's when a third party connects to the Gmail SMTP service, right? And there's some security issue, like maybe the way that NinjaTrader, maybe they don't digitally sign or somehow certify whatever. Gmail sees it as being an insecure connection. And so you have to go in and enable and or accept that risk, I think, within Gmail. So it's not ideal. But anyway, so we could use, what I do is I use a third-party SMTP service. There, off the top of my head, there's one called, I think, Turbo SMTP. I believe it. I'm pretty sure that's a decent one for you to use because it's free. Up to I don't know how many. They may give you 100 emails a day or something like that for free. Obviously, you're never going to send that many, so I don't think you'd ever have any issues with that. So I use that. Yeah, it's a free SMTP service, and it kind of overrides what we were just talking about, and that's what I use. Okay. I hope it helps. All right. Any further questions? Any further questions? Speak now or forever hold that peace, folks. Oh, yeah, of course. You're very welcome. You are very, very welcome. All right. Anyone else? Anything? I really enjoy my time with you all. I really do, folks. Thank you for everything, for being here, for your commitment to yourself. I mean, I think that's the most important part. I'm just happy that I can be a part of it. I feel privileged to be able to do that, and so I thank you for it. If there's any way that I can help, just let me know. If you have any questions, or if you, oh, you know what? I should probably. That's okay. I guess I can send it out, or it'll be. Anyway, it should be an email going out to some that there's like a little free session tomorrow or whatnot. But in that, we were going to discount the community, the monthly and whatnot. So if you're interested, if you'll just shoot me an email, I will go ahead and I'll provide that to you, because I would get that to you ahead of everyone else for being here. Me, obviously, if you're not in the community. Okay. Did I miss something? I know I asked in the past to identify the beach bar. Could this be a part of the next update? I can't promise you that, but I will take it under advisement. Yeah, I will take that under advisement. In fact, okay, so hey, so yeah, we'll think on it, right? So with my I call him my magician. He is a magician. Yeah, so if I don't know, it's something to consider. Basically, I think you're just asking to highlight the VTC bar, so I mean that's certainly something that we could consider. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we're definitely at a point where we're super thrilled with the software. I mean, but that does make a lot of sense to highlight that. So I will absolutely consider that for sure. But I don't know that it's going to be in the next release. Although I'm very excited about the next release, because I think I would say we're all going to be pretty excited about the next. It's just a small little thing, but remember, the small little things. That's how the PFAZoneSuite is what it is. It's always small little things, but then huge things in combination and so on. So we're just going to work on the RBR and DBD risk management, like we talked about the other day. Yeah, so we are going to work towards that, having it automatically be placed in the proper location. So anyway, we'll work on that. That'll be in the next release. Well, okay. All right, folks. So we at least one scenario today. So let me just conclude. I'm going to watch this very closely. What happens here today is pretty critical. So if we do take out this low of the 3,700, I am going to watch that, and I would like to see it get down to this lower level of the 36.34 quarter, and potentially, again, potentially below. I don't know. Conversely, if that does not happen and we do indeed rally back up and we take out the previous day high, then I'm going to be approaching that on the bullish side in anticipation of reaching 38.50. And finally, if I get that, it's already submitted here. and that comes in at 3,700 quarter. So a breakdown of that is going to put me potentially at 36. So 3634 quarter, but remember I told you I'd be above that. So 3640 and or anywhere in this general vicinity right here. So maybe 3650 to 3640, whatever makes you feel warm and cozy on the inside, only for simulation purposes. And so you're kind of training yourself with this. God bless you all. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.